I'm Bob Crandall, and I was the 2001 recipient of the Jannus Award.
Tell me what that whole experience was like for you. Hang on, let's wait for this motorcycle to.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay.
pulling in right here.
All right.
This is how it always happens,
Yeah,
don't you know?
yeah.
Don't you know? Okay. All right. So tell me, to the best of your recollection, that year, that was a big year.
Well, it was a big year because, of course, both aviation and the country had taken a terrible hit in 9/11. So, we were all still recoiling from the notion that people would deliberately kill 3,000 people and take over airplanes and fly them into buildings. And it was still in the early days of what has now come to be a sort of worldwide terror epidemic. So people do terrible things all the time, but that was sort of the first real awful thing that happened in the United States. So we were recoiling from it, and the aviation industry, which clearly has a particular susceptibility, was particularly susceptible. It effectively shut down for a period of time and had to be revived, which was a valuable thing because aviation is fundamentally the country's basic inner-city transportation system. So it was a difficult time.
Tell me what the experience
Can
would be.
wait just a
Yeah,
moment
we'll
for
wait
the
till
airplane.
till that goes over. We got motorcycles, we got planes. I think we had a stranded human being back there. Tell me when I'm okay.
We're good. We're good. Yeah, there you go.
That year of being the Tony Jannus recipient, that must have been an experience in and of itself. Can you kind of recount that to me?
Look, any award, anytime somebody says to you, you've in your field of work, whatever it is, endeavor, whether you're an artist, a musician, a business person, whatever, and somebody says, you've done particularly well, and so we're going to give you an award. We're going to recognize your excellence. This beats a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. The fact of the matter is, getting an award is always a pleasant experience. And any time I come to a group of aviation people, it's a pleasure for me because I see a lot of old friends. These days, they really are old friends. I just walked in and saw Ed Colodny, for example, who was the chairman of US Air for many years in the 80s and 90s. I hadn't seen him for 25 years. So it's a pleasant time. In that particular year in 2001, it was also a chance for me to say something affirmative about aviation and something affirmative about the group of people who operate the nation's transportation system, and I did that.
What was it about aviation that you fell in love with?
Complexity. It's enormously complex. I mean, that's one thing. The other is importance. It's a tremendously important business, and it's very complicated. So you've got lots of moving parts all the time. You make a plan in the morning, and by noontime, the plan is shattered. You've got to remake it, and you've got to use IT, and you've got to use the early stages of artificial intelligence, and so you've got to use all the tools to operate this very complicated business, which is also very important. And that makes a big difference. Without insulting anybody, I was briefly in the retail business, and I thought it was boring. It isn't that the distribution of goods isn't important. Of course it is. But the doing of it isn't very complicated and isn't very particularly challenging, and I found it boring, so I came back to aviation as soon as I could.
What do you think about Tony Jannus, the man?
Well, he was. I don't know a lot about Tony Jannus, the man. I know more about the society and the award, and the fact that Jannus was a very early pioneer. He was one of the first guys to get up in the air commercially. So you read the story of the Wright brothers and the Tony Jannuses of the world and all the people that had paved the way, and it was, of course, for them technically exciting, very technically exciting, very challenging. It was also dangerous. And I mean, a lot of people died learning how to fly. So Jannus was one of the guys that paved the way for aviation, certainly paved the way for this part of the world in aviation and airport construction, and which led to today's aviation industry, which, as I've already said, is both complicated and very interesting and very important.
A big part of what the society does is, obviously fund scholarships to kind of keep that keep the enthusiasm going towards the aviation industry. If you yourself had to talk to a room full of potential aviators or what have you, people that would work in that industry, what would you say to them?
Well, I would say to them, look, in the first place, no matter what you do, whatever it is, today you may want to work in IT, you may